6 months prior to his passing, the world's most cherished on-screen wisecracking patriarch concealed himself from intrusive cameras and assembled a select group of cast and crew to share a story that had been circulating secretly for nearly 20 years. Pat Morita, universally recognized as Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid, leaned forward and posed the query that had never been documented as having been answered. In real life, what precisely occurred on set the day his character performed the renowned wax-on, wax-off lesson? Fans have been ruminating for years regarding improvisation, the precision of martial arts, and emerging tensions. However, Morita's statement would dispel all those speculations and reinterpret the story of the 1984 classic to clearly convey the significance of that moment. At the outset of 1984, a Japanese-American actor of limited prominence was appointed in the role of the earnest handyman who assumed the role of a guide. It was challenging to instruct 20-year-old Ralph Macchio in both the subtleties of his character and the techniques for authentic blocking and striking during the extended sunlit days in Pacific Palisades designated for filming. Insiders suggest that tension may be detectable through the walls of the sound stages. There were instances in which Macchio's eagerness was excessive, and Morita's meticulous delivery of Miyagi's exact words conflicted with the young actor's exuberant energy. There were reports of disagreements regarding choreography during midday, and it was alleged that Morita struck Macchio's hand too forcefully during a rehearsal scene. However, prior to that late-night meeting on the property, no one had ever verified the occurrence of such conflicts. Insert a period. That day, Morita addressed a group of assistants and coffee runners, acknowledging that the wax-on, wax-off scenario nearly caused a slowdown in the production. He stated that the intended routine, designed to conceal Michio's martial arts training while instructing fundamental blocks, was initially conceived as a simple joke. However, Morita insisted on transforming it into an authentic dojang drill. Ralph must sense the flux, the cycle of energy. I informed him that he had indeed done so. Before I demonstrated that the hand circles resembled defensive blocks, they considered it to be charming. Studio directors refrained from incorporating genuine technique into a polishing jest, believing it would impede the pacing of the scene. Nevertheless, Morita discreetly organized a protest on the night preceding the murder. Under the stage illumination, he guided Macchio through 200 repetitions. Each movement serves as an opportunity to reinforce muscle memory. Morita acknowledged that the midnight gathering marked a pivotal moment, transforming a remark about laundry polish into a significant cinematic metaphor. However, the element of astonishment persisted beyond that point. Morita stated that he once damaged a genuine car bonnet with a maca grinder out of frustration over the need to work swiftly. He undertook this action to demonstrate Miyagi's exceptional ingenuity. Crew members had discussed an unforeseen eruption of flames and metal, but union rules stated that such an incident could not be officially documented. He discussed the precise instant when the camera was not recording in a quiet tone. "Coach, I wanted to demonstrate that genuine inspiration occurs when you move your imagination beyond the confines of the page." The footage was not utilized, purportedly due to the director's desire to avoid complications with his insurance. However, grips and gaffers became aware of the ruse, thereby contributing to the legend of Miyagi's role. Maria also clarified the circumstances surrounding the well-known dispute with Daniel San regarding the bow staff. Contrary to popular belief, the combat was not entirely rehearsed. Morita stated that he intentionally left one move unpracticed, trusting Kaio's intuition to block an unexpected thrust. When he executed a right block, an inner aspect of him was revealed. Morita stated that the spontaneous moment was included in the final edit, providing both acts with an authentic sense of discovery that enhanced their quality. Individuals who observed the combat scene were unaware that it comprised both staged elements and an unexpected demonstration of strength. Morita's assertion that Miyagi's past carried emotional significance may have been the most startling remark she made. He acknowledged that he had pleaded with the writers to expand the subplot concerning Miyagi's concealed sorrow and his experiences during the conflict. Initially, the brief flashback sequence was considered superfluous. However, Morita's fervent narration of those moments convinced the producers to incorporate it. Miyagi's visage bears the marks of memories as he reflects on a family he has lost. That scene, filmed without the benefit of elaborate sets and consisting of a single dawn take amidst gray foliage, became a focal point of emotional significance for decades thereafter. Morita contended that Miyagi may be perceived as a martial arts machine rather than as an individual who heals wounds without that scenario. When Morita finished recounting the tale, the small assembly present recognized that they had witnessed history. His admission unified improvisation, silent mentorship, and artistic endeavor, transforming a modest 1980s film into a significant cultural landmark. Then, Morita discreetly stored his notes away in the same silent manner in which he had entered. The team departed with a profound assurance to honor his truth. However, until now, the remainder of the world was unaware of it. Pat Morita's final statement this evening elucidates the true artistry behind Miyagi's legendary teachings for the first time. After 6 months, Pat Morita astonished the cast and crew with an impromptu encore at a wrap party held in a converted warehouse near Sunset Boulevard. He requested their participation in the concealed narratives of how Karate Kids was established. He stood beneath a solitary bare bulb, clutching a well-used clipboard filled with handwritten pages that contained his private notes on every minor alteration, initial conflict, and concealed triumph that contributed to the film's symphony of resilience and elegance. There was a moment of silence even as the champagne glasses clinked, and he cleared his throat. He began with a straightforward yet insightful realization that fundamentally altered the perception of the Karate Kid's most essential abilities. Morita stated that the well-known phrase, wax on, wax off, was originally composed in Japanese before being translated into English. He stated that he personally translated and refined it late at night because the provided script appeared too rigid and overly literal. The original phrase, Miguri su Miguri team Nuzabai, was an unusual expression that signified a circular gesture with hand protection. He experienced a sense of sadness upon reading it for the first time. The words lacked the appropriate cadence and sincerity suited to his character. After returning to his trailer following a lengthy day of waxing, perspiration was streaming down his glasses. He inscribed the now well-known English phrase wax on, wax off on the wall and clarified that each instruction should be perceived as a pulse, a repetitive pattern of protection. The new terminology benefits the producers. However, the following day, amidst the organized pandemonium of the set, a bureaucrat attempted to revert to the original version. Morita approached the studio representative with an unusually assertive stance and insisted that no alteration could diminish the profound significance of the phrase. The agreement was reached immediately. Morita's phrasing remained unchanged, and as the narrative circulated among the audience, he assisted in translating the remaining martial arts allusions from the film into English. He referenced a different occasion documented in production records, during which he instructed Ralph Macchio Kateda by illustrating each block in the studio against backlit soil. The director requested a close-up shot of Daniel S.'s visage while Morita discussed balance and focus. However, Morita believed the concept was too imprecise for the youthful actress. He trusted his instincts and guided Macchia toward a marshy section located behind a stationary food truck. He knelt and employed his finger to create block patterns. "Feel the arc of the circle," he directed, guiding Macchio's palm. The following morning, in a single focused try, Macchio precisely executed the nuanced wrist angles and the dynamic weight distribution that had previously eluded him. Morita smiled and told the director, "That is Miyagi's classroom." The scene shot perfectly, and that off-camera lesson became a foundation from Kaio's growth, earning him the confidence to carry the film's emotional center. Morita's voice then deepened as he described the project's most fraught conflict, a battle over the film's musical identity. Original composer Marvin Hamlish had recorded a sweeping orchestral score meant to underscore every triumph and setback. However, Morita felt the music often spilled into melodrama, diluting Miyagi's quiet strength. Late one evening, after a long day on set, Morita slipped into the editing room. He queued up the Peaceful Waters theme on a Realtorial player and let it run as he watched the paint the fence montage. He realized the piece, while beautiful, pulled too audibly at the heartstrings. He spoke to the music editor, a dear friend, arguing that the sequence needed only natural sound. The scrape of paint brushes, the slap of boards interlaced with Morita's guiding voice. The next morning, the entire crew watched in stunned silence as the montage played without orchestration. Just Miyagi's calm instructions and the rhythm of Daniel's brushes. That edit stayed in the final cut, and Morita maintained that the absence of music was the film's most potent instrument. Finally, Morita confessed to personal regret, the omission of a scene set in Okinawa that he had fought to include. Early drafts featured Daniel-san traveling to Miyagi's island home, learning traditional fishing techniques, and participating in a nighttime lantern ceremony. Morita argued the sequence would deepen the mentor-student bond and honor his character's heritage, but studio brass feared the extra location shoot would blow the budget and slow the release schedule. Morita accepted the cut, but never stopped campaigning for those moments to appear, even threatening to resign in protest. Though he stayed, the memory burnt. Now, in front of colleagues whose eyes glistened with empathy, he vowed to resurrect that lost footage in a future director's cut. He spoke of returning to Okinawa to film Daniel's reunion with Miyagi's extended family, promising a final complete chapter of their journey. When his confession concluded, the warehouse erupted in applause, tears, and stunned laughter. Morita stepped back into the shadows, his clipboard tucked under his arm, leaving behind a cast and crew forever changed by the breath of his dedication. In that moment, the true meaning of the Karate Kid, respect, authenticity, and the courage to stand up for one's vision came alive in his final confession. Pat Morita tucked his clipboard under his arm, then paused to share one final behind-the-scenes secret that even the most devoted fans had never heard. The day after the tournament's climactic crane kick moment, the crew discovered that the giant bonsai prop used during the final fight was unstable and nearly toppled onto Ralph Macchio mid-take. Morita recounted rushing over, placing himself between the young actor and the swaying branches, studying the tree with a single calm breath. When the director called cut, Morita whispered to the prop master, "Every element of this film must honor the spirit of Miyagi, balanced, unshakable." They reinforced the base overnight and never told anyone outside production, preserving the scene's seamless tension on film. Morita then revisited the filming of Daniel's torn headband, a moment fans recall as raw emotion. In the original script, Daniel simply dropped the ragged bandana after his defeat, but Morita pressured the writers to let Daniel retrieve it in a silent gesture of respect and perseverance. He argued that Miyagi would never let his student abandon a symbol of their bond. Under the glow of practical floodlights, Macchio knelt in the dirt, dust clinging to his tears as he pressed the frayed cloth to his forehead. Morita stood just off camera, prompting Macchio with a gentle nod. That improvised beat, Morita said, conveyed more humility and honor than any dialogue could capture. The moment survived final edit, becoming an emotional linchpin that resonated across decades. Next, Morita disclosed an anecdote about a covert translation of Miyagi's monologues into Spanish for the dub release. He personally reviewed the translated script to ensure the cadences matched his original inflections, fighting to keep the noble simplicity intact. Morita confessed that he spent late nights on phone calls with the dubbing studio in Mexico City, coaching the voice actor to replicate his measured delivery. He even sent a small box of hand-rolled incense from his home altar, asking the actor to burn it while rehearsing. "It's more than words," he told them. "It's energy." When the dubbed sequences aired, Spanish-speaking audiences responded with an outpouring of letters, many saying they felt a more authentic connection to Miyagi than ever before. Morita credited that outreach as an unspoken triumph of cultural respect that in a hushed tone. Morita revealed that he had once saved a scene from being cut due to censorship concerns. Early drafts included a brief reference to wartime incarceration of Japanese Americans, a line Morita improvised himself to underscore Miyagi's quietly enduring sorrow. Studio legal counsel feared that audiences might react negatively to a flashback, fearing it would overshadow the film's lighter moments. When Morita learned of the proposed cut, he arranged an impromptu screening for studio executives, personally introducing the scene's significance as a tribute to his own family's experiences. His plea moved the head of production to tears, and the footage remained intact. Morita said he believed that single decision elevated The Karate Kid from mere underdog sports drama to a work of genuine historical empathy. He then described the grueling winter shoot for the tournament's opening sequence. Though the set was nestled near Los Angeles, a freak cold snap forced the cast to film in near-freezing temperatures. Macchio's costume offered little protection, so Morita escorted him to a makeshift warming area, an old trailer he had stocked with blankets and hot tea. Morita spent every break sitting alongside Nkayo, swapping stories to keep morale high. We reminisced about our inaugural employment experiences, Morita recounted. He worked as a pool attendant, while I was an extra for Little Rascals. In spite of the frigid weather, observing the concluding scene and their spontaneous exchanges, he remarked that it imbued the cast with a sense of camaraderie that brought warmth to the set. Now, Morita was delighted that audiences perceived solely the drama, oblivious to the tremors occurring behind the camera. Finally, Morita revealed perhaps the most heartfelt confession, the origin of the implicit pledge between Miyagi and Daniel. He explained that during an unscheduled lunch break, he and Nkayo uncovered an ancient fragment of parchment among the prop tables, the vestige of a discarded early set decoration. It bore a hastily sketched carver's mark alongside the date, marking Morita's initial day as Miyagi. Mio retrieved it, turned to Morita, and stated, "This film will transform our lives." Morita perceived in Mio's eyes the same longing he had once experienced as an actor striving for recognition. He invited Nkayo to inscribe his signature on the parchment using calligraphy ink, incorporating his own mark. They arranged it and displayed it in Morita's trailer, serving as a silent testament to their collaboration. Each time I observed it, Morita stated, her voice becoming more subdued, I remembered why integrity and fidelity are more significant than any script. The convened crew sat in reverent silence as Morita concluded his final chapter of Confessions. The building remained silent for a period before acclaim gradually increased, resembling a crescendo of gratitude. At that precise moment, Pat Morita adhered to the same principles he had imparted to Daniel San: honor, courage, and the wisdom to preserve the essence of the story. His legacy remains more influential than ever, owing to these unseen occasions. They instruct us that genuine mastery resides in the meticulous attention given to every unseen action. That morning, as dawn streamed through the warehouse windows, Pat Morita recalled a final story, a reflection of friendship that scarcely anyone on the set ever witnessed. He discussed the day on which the renowned painting the fence scene was filmed for the third time, not due to any deficiencies in the equipment, but because Ralph Macchio and the youthful actors desired it to be impeccable. Morita states that the team had already concluded their work for the day when Macchio approached the director with a more measured tone. He was adorned with color and perspiration. He informed Sensei, "I am capable of performing better. The rhythm is not authentic." In that instant, Morita assumed his Miyagi persona and secured the knots on Macchio's soiled jacket. During each of the additional 5 attempts, he guided Macchio through Miyagi's softly spoken chant. Reflect upon that confrontation involving the white belt. The additional individuals assembled around Macchio upon observing his evident dedication. Mothers and children clad in costumes, exchanging roles solely to experience Miyagi's presence. That collective dedication rendered genuine emotion achievable on screen. Nevertheless, the connection established behind the camera imparted to Pat that even the briefest lesson can endure far longer than any karate block. Then he discussed a relatively obscure incident that nearly compromised the actor's trust during the filming of the scene in the garden, where Miyagi lashes Daniel for his disrespectful behavior at night. The crew inadvertently left a generator operating in close proximity to the delicate bonsai collection. The commotion and heat caused the plants to wilt and prompted the birds to fly across the background. Morita approached the grips and informed them that the generator needed to be relocated 15 feet away, as she observed that the plant appeared to be in distress. He addressed the audience in a gentle manner. If Miyagi advocates harmony with nature, we are obliged to embody that lesson in all aspects of our lives. The transition resulted in a minor delay, but Morita retrieved some cut leaves and irrigated the plants using a watering cane that had been seized from craft services. When the cameras returned, the location appeared to become animated. Under the illumination of the floodlights, each leaf appeared to be in respiration. On that day, Morita's team recognized that his environmental concern was equally significant to his artistry as any verbal expression. He also discussed an occasion when they conducted a final rehearsal prior to filming the extensive crane kick. Many critics have long commended the emotional confrontation between Miyagi and Daniel, yet few are aware that the fight sequences were nearly eliminated due to concerns that they were excessively violent for a family audience. Morita, conversely, believed that authentic conflict held significant importance. He approached the stunt coordinator later in the morning and proposed a gentle touch, a faucet that would undoubtedly retain its significance. He demonstrated his capabilities on a padded mat by softly, yet assertively striking the organizer's torso, followed by a respectful bow. The stunt team exchanged glances and subsequently nodded. They modified the dance steps to provide Daniel with a respectful and significant challenge to his fortitude. The agreement that was reached facilitated the execution of the crane kick with significant impact. To maintain the film's PG classification and adhere to Miyagi's rigorous code of conduct, Morita's final confession was a private conversation with the film's composer on the night prior to the premiere. Marvin Hamlish was uncertain whether a piano melody might diminish Miyagi's perceived seriousness, so he requested Morita to consider removing an allegro motif from the theme. Morita extended an invitation to Hamlish to visit his trailer, where he prepared tea and donned vintage headphones to listen to music. As the opening music played, Morita closed his eyes and envisioned the audience 30 years from now. Subsequently, he instructed Hamlish to retain the ominous piano chord but to play it softly only following the credits. "Let it remain a whisper," said Morita, a concluding gesture from the instructor to the pupil. Hamlish remained attentive, and the subtle piano only appeared at the very conclusion of the theatrical version. In the end, the sound continues to evoke tears in listeners. After the final narrative concluded, Morita carefully stored his notes and allowed the silence to settle once more. A gathering within the building had been transformed by the burden of these private memories. During that golden hour, Miyagi's spirit transcended the film and its actors, conveying that the enduring enchantment of the film derives from both significant and subtle actions. Each was crafted by a master who understood that the most valuable knowledge is frequently concealed in plain sight. Pat Morita's anecdotes could be heard throughout the entire studio lot in the days following that warehouse gathering. Over coffee, his team discussed his acting exercises. His narratives were annotated within actors' scripts, and the individual responsible for the scripts recorded his notes in her notebook. Nevertheless, Pat harbored one additional confession concealed within a meteorology book. It was an intimate account he believed everyone ought to hear. He discussed secretly documenting Miyagi's final speech well in advance of its broadcast on television. He proceeded to the dimly lit set late at night after the principal filming had concluded and delivered the entire speech in Japanese. He drew upon recollections of his own father to imbue each word with subtle strength. He stored the tape despite the fact that the samples had not been recorded, and several years later, it was revealed as a hidden feature in a special edition release, providing admirers with Miyagi's heartfelt words in their unaltered form. Morita subsequently demonstrated how he modified the diner test by introducing a new line through it. If a man is capable of catching an insect with a chopstick, he can accomplish anything on a napkin during a break. The director consented to film his face delivering the line, revealing the subtle spark that underscored Miyagi's challenge. That fabricated scenario evolved into a defining lesson that encapsulated the film's central message of patience and potential. He also mentioned his talisman, an antique miniature crane given to him by his mother during childhood, which he had affixed in his hair. He concealed it within Miyagi's attire. He believed that the amulet endowed his character with psychic reasoning. Individuals seldom inquired about this minor detail, yet Morita consistently incorporated it into every scenario with enthusiasm. Pat discussed advocating for a brief recollection depicting difficult times during the war that appears in Miyagi's memories. This may have been the most unexpected remark made by Pat. The scene was initially excised to save time. However, he persisted on its inclusion out of respect for the graves of his own family. He presented the preliminary footage to concerned producers and discussed its implications until they relinquished their efforts. That brief instant of sorrow now serves as the foundation for Miyagi's inner resilience. Morita recounted a memorable evening prior to the opening when he placed a typed resignation letter in director John A.'s pocket as a precautionary measure in case his plans deviated from expectations. He never forwarded it, but retained evidence of his affection until A returned it decades later, accompanied by an apology affixed with adhesive. It is now displayed behind glass alongside other cinematic memorabilia. Finally, he discussed his training regimen for the final crane kick. Morita discreetly instructed Ralph Macchio in a nearby dojo, meticulously refining each muscle and breath until Mio achieved the height, posture, and exhalation that rendered the scene emotionally impactful. Initially, a double reviewed the camera angles. Morita consented to film with the main actor solely after Macchio had mastered the move. This ensured that the most critical scene was both authentic and secure. Morita also stated that she instructed Macchio in the traditional Okinawan breathing technique known as ibuki. Ibuki is a deliberate mouth click that promotes tranquility of the mind and body. At dawn, he escorted Macchio to the craft services area to practice the exhalation that resembles a chant until it became habitual. Morita contended that this ritual was essential to demonstrate Miyagi's composed resolve on camera. During a joyful interlude, the cast and crew presented him with a small bonsai sapling as a token of appreciation following the conclusion of filming. Morita attended to that tree backstage by nurturing it with the same affection he dedicated to his performances. After many years, he entrusted the bonsai to a Japanese garden in Los Angeles to ensure it would flourish in a manner that honors the enduring influence of the film. He created several private video diaries prior to ceasing his acting career, which were viewed exclusively by his family, with whom he imparted life lessons. Polishing and buffing are not solely applicable to paint. It is intended to ensure consistency at all times and to maintain precise boundaries. These recordings have now become highly valuable family heirlooms, an exploration of the compassionate and wise intellect behind Miyagi's esteemed reputation. He also advocated for the film's original aspect ratio to be displayed in other countries, instructing producers not to crop, even if it required producing additional prints. Morita stated that maintaining a clear perspective is equally as vital as any martial arts technique. His unwavering resolve ensured that everyone perceived the film as he desired, just as Pat Morita placed his journal into a well-used purse. His cast and crew family recognized that they had witnessed a form of art that set Miyagi apart from merely being a character. By revealing these confidential secrets, Morita imparted one final lesson on loyalty, respect, and the courage to stand firm in one's convictions. His words were subdued in the stillness of the early morning, yet their resonance will forever remain a treasured contribution to the image and all who follow. As the gentle light of dawn filtered through the warehouse windows, the cast and crew assembled for a final moment of reflection. Pat Morita's concealed secrets unveiled more than mere details about the film industry. They demonstrated love, care, and inventive courage that transformed a modest narrative about an underdog into an enduring parable. As the group members departed, they bore more than mere stories within their souls. They possessed a renewed sense of purpose and were confident that every action, whether on or off screen, had consequences extending well beyond the frame. In the subsequent weeks, director John A. requested Morita's family and principal crew members to view a newly assembled legacy cut that incorporated numerous scenes recommended by Morita, the Okinawa flashback, the raw Japanese monologue, and brief glimpses of the improvised carrot sparks during a special benefit screening in Hollywood. Audience members bestowed the film with standing ovations and weeping. Critics have acclaimed the version titled Miyagi Unmasked, noting that the additional information fostered greater empathy among viewers and engendered a renewed appreciation for the film's sincerity and heartfelt nature. The marriage trailer was even transformed into a temporary shrine. The journals, recorded tapes, and the document signed by Macchio were all safeguarded behind glass. Crew members queued up to express their gratitude to one another in writing. One read, "You taught us all to honor the unseen." Another individual admitted, "I had never realized that a single actor could embody such profound reverence." These tributes, gathered like petals in a gallery, attested to Morita's enduring impact, demonstrating that true mastery resides not in ostentatious displays, but in a steadfast commitment to authenticity. Beyond the lot, Morita's stories initiated broader discussions within film institutions and acting workshops. Educators referenced his late-night script revisions as exemplars of an actor's right and obligation to influence the development of their character's dialogue. Film students examined his emphasis on ethnographic sensitivity and dubbing as exemplary models of intercultural respect. Martial arts instructors integrated his principles into seminars, demonstrating that wax-on, wax-off functions both as a physical exercise and as a meditation on concentration and adaptability. Morita's legacy extended across genres and generations, influencing fields as varied as cinema, music, education, and mindfulness. The 10 interviews revealed that Ralph Macchio discussed how Morita's mentorship persisted well beyond the conclusion of filming. He recounted receiving handwritten correspondence from Morita during the initial stages of his television career, correspondence that reflected Miyagi's wisdom, patience, concentration, and regard. These are your genuine instruments. Mio stored the letters within a cedar box, alongside his initial photograph of a crane kick. Pat's mentorship influenced not only my performance, but also my existence. Mio stated that their bond, established through spontaneous teachings and shared cups of tea, became representative of the film's most profound truths. Even Pat Morita's family received the revelations with heartfelt affection. His daughter Christina curated a traveling exhibition entitled Lessons from Miyagi, showcasing authentic props, journals, and video excerpts of his final confessions. The exhibition traveled to community centers and cultural festivals in Los Angeles, New York, and Okinawa, promoting intergenerational dialogue concerning heritage, respect, and artistic integrity. Visitors left messages paying tribute to the memory of the married individual. One stated that he educated me on safeguarding the equilibrium of nature. He demonstrated that even the smallest actions can hold profound significance. Pinned an additional item. On the 20th anniversary of Morita's death, an annual award was instituted in his honor, known as the Miyagi Prize for Exceptional Behind-the-Scenes Contributions. Recipients have included both discrete script consultants who enhance dialogue and stunt coordinators who maintain safety without compromising realism. Each year, the awards ceremony concludes with a reprise of Miyagi's Japanese monologue, serving as a reminder to new generations that storytelling is equally rooted in unseen craftsmanship as it is in spectacle. Ultimately, Pat Morita's ultimate confession revealed a universal truth. Art flourishes when creators recognize and respect the inherent humanity of one another. Whether refining fences or translating lines, each act of diligent creativity leaves an enduring imprint. The legacy of the Karate Kid, formerly assessed by box office performance and fan conventions, now radiates subtly in silent corners, trailers, editing suites, and rehearsal grounds where Morita's unspoken lessons have taken hold. His essence persists in every actor who has courageously advocated for authenticity, every crew member who meticulously attends to the minutest detail, and every viewer who perceives wisdom in a simple stroke of waxed paint as the culmination of Morita's confidence are enshrined in legend. His conviction resonated. True mastery is imperceptible, yet it influences all that we observe. In honoring his truth, the film and all who hold it dear were eternally transformed.